Good morning, Rabbi Sai. A Gemar Chasima Toiva, a good Geben Shtior. Today's shir, sponsored Lili Nishmas, Imi, Rusbas Mordechai, and Leili by Yossi Klein from Superior Plumbing, a very, very good friend of the shir. You'll see he sponsors at least once a month, and he's looking to advertise in Mishpacha, Ami. He's very involved, very involved. All right, how's everybody's Yontif? How was yours? Nachman, you went okay? I don't know if you guys heard. I said it yesterday, I got to say it again. There's a Neis Nigler, Mamish Neis Nigler. We didn't have a Baltekeya, so we were only 11 people. So I figured, I'm a professional because I blew 10 years ago, once after Shachris by LeDavid, and I only made 3 mistakes. So Mamela, I took it upon myself, and but I don't have a shofar and I didn't practice, so I got a shofar from Yedidya Kramer, my chavrusa. He gave me a shofar Erev Rosh Hashanah, and after my Erev Rosh Hashanah, I told Olam, don't worry about it, I did this 10 years ago. So one of the guys, he lost it. He's like, what? I need to find a new me. I said, don't worry. So he started faharing me in the halachas. I had no idea that this is even halachas. I thought you just have to blow. He's like, Neshima achash, te neshimas. Like, what? I have no idea what you're talking about. So anyways, I ran to Rabbi Pessin, he gave me all the halachas. I'm just saying this over for you, because everybody heard it last night. And Rabbi Isai, Mamish Neis, I didn't make a single mistake. From beginning to end, not one time did I have to go back. Now, it could be that the Makri didn't know what he was doing either. But as far as I know, he actually made one mistake. He made me do a true instead of a tekiah. So I did more than the kailas necessary. I did one extra one. So, no, seriously, nisim v'neflois, never going to happen again. Listen to this, Nachman. This is also for you. Niggin of David, v'hayu b'yom hahu, mamish brought tears to my eyes. This is from Leiby's father. Where's Leiby? He's here. Leiby, our token kail guy. We should be zoicha to see the geula b'kar of mamish through, and because the achdus that Rebbe Eli Stefansky brings through our Daf family shir, ksiva v'chasima toiva to all concerned. Bernard David. We have another minute or two. You could sing meanwhile if you want. Oh, that's right. So Yossi Klein, very, very, very important. Noam Fix flew last night to America. He has a esrog business in Queens. Rabbi say, please support him. He didn't ask me to say that. He'll kill me if he found out. But he's doing a get-together, a meet and greet kind of thing. And Yossi Klein is very, he's going in from Muncie. He's going to drive him around. It's like, no, it's okay. Huh? Phil, the whole island from Munsie's coming in to meet Noam Fix, celebrity. Listen to this very interesting email. This is from Yisrael Goldstein, who happens to be a Babaver Chassid from Borough Park. He's corresponding with Seth. Seth is that guy that said that he kept his first Shabbos, covered the shir, going through the whole Masechta Shabbos. He was able to keep his first Shabbos in the dormitory in college. So Yisrael Goldstein writes to him, hello Seth, how you doing? This is the time of the year I want to wish one another, we wish one another New Year greetings. We all went through a very tough year, some more than others. We all know that Hashem is the composer and conducts the orchestra. Everything we believe is all of the best, even though we don't see the good with our eyes. There's one very good thing that happened this year, and it all started in the secular New Year, and that was the great Siyum HaShas that took place all over the world, and I was lucky to be at the largest Siyum gathering in MetLife Stadium. I never did Daf Yomi before, and I was there with over 70,000 Jews, brothers singing, dancing, celebrating. I made a commitment that in 7.5 years, I'm going to be one of the Daf Yomi completers. Then 2 months into my new commitment came COVID-19. I felt so lost because the shul that I went to closed and it was really lost. No Rebbe to teach me. A few days later, I bumped into Rebbe Eli's Daf and the rest is history. But I have to point out, one major player that got me going every day and night with the Daf, and don't get humble with me, it was seeing you on Zoom every day, listening to the shir, and we all know that you're a newcomer to these kinds of studies, and you're still sticking around, and it puts me to shame. Sometimes when I don't feel in the mood of learning. So that being said, I must personally thank you for inspiring me to truck along and stay in there daily. I wish you a heartfelt, happy, healthy, prosperous, and wealthy year from one of your true admirers, Yisrael Goldstein. And then Seth writes back, I'm walking to the dining hall to get food. You smile on my face right now. I can't believe that I have such an effect on people. The feeling definitely goes both ways, as there's no way I would have gotten this far without the help and support of people like you. L'shana Tova, have a sweet, sweet new year. So people inspire others. You don't know how you're inspiring, like we had Yom Schwartz inspire somebody else, and this guy, everybody's inspiring the others. It's unbelievable. All right. I have to say, if I go a little easy on me, last night I gave 2 dafim, finished here about 11 o'clock, and that's when I had to start learning today's daf. I was a little sad because I usually learn with my chavrusa, Yedidia. So I do at least an hour. I learn with him an hour every day. I prepare first, and then I learn with him to go over. And I didn't have that opportunity. And this morning, I wake up, and there's a text from him. He says, let's learn. So that means he got up before 4 o'clock in the morning to learn with me. So that's a tremendous dedication on his part. I want to give a tremendous yishkoyach to him. So, that being said, we are mamish on the top of the Daf Mem Gimel Amud Aleph, first words. Just to recap here, because it's in the middle of a sugya. Basically, we had Rav. Rav comes and he paskins the halacha like Reb Gamliel. And that is, in all cases, whether it's you are on a ship, you have the entire ship as your domain, whereas Rebbe Kiva holds it's just a small box of 4 tfachim, of 4 amas. And in the case of Dir v'Sahar, same case, but one is a temporary one, one is a permanent one. If somebody encloses a fence around animals, do you have, and somebody picked you up, inserted you in here, or you lost your mind, you ended up, and somebody surrounding you with a fence, do you have the entire fence, or do you have only 4 amas? Rav passes like Reb Gamliel in all 3 cases. Third one meaning this one as well, they're identical. One is a permanent one, one is a temporary one. But the point is that according to Rabbi Gamliel, you have the entire area. You're not limited to the 4 amos. Okay? So then the Gemara says, well, that's Rav. Shmuel, of course, who likes to argue with Rav about everything, Shmuel says, no, the halach is like Rabbi Gamliel in a ship. But not in the dir v'sar, not in the barn. So everybody agrees that in a ship you could go 4 amas. And why? So Gemara brings 2 reasons. Either Rabbah says it's the walls of the ship. You're kind of shvisa in the ship. You were in the ship beforehand, so therefore you're kind of shvisa, the walls. And then we had a very interesting pshat from Reb Zera. Reb Zera says that the ship is in constant motion. So let's explain it like this. If a non-Jew lifts up a Jew, lifts him up physically, and that was the Mishnah that we had in the beginning of the parak, the first Mishnah of the parak, Daf Mem Aleph Amud Beis. A guy lifts up a Jew and places him over here outside of his tchum. So that Jew, unfortunately, cannot go more than 4 amas. But he has 4 amas. So what is the difference if a non-Jew lifts you up and brings you here and you have 4 amas? Or I'm on a ship, and the ship brings me over here, and now I have 4 amas. And then the ship brings me another 25 feet that way, I have another 4 amas. Imagine a guy picks you up, gives you 4 amas. The guy picks you up again, gives you 4 amas. So wherever the guy, he's forcing you. So every time he picks you up and drops you off, you have another 4 amas. So if you're on a plane, you're on a ship, you're on a truck, you're constantly moving, so your 4 amas constantly shift. Rashi says every time you lift up your foot to put it down, the ship already moved 4 amas. I don't know that you have to go that fast, but the point is you're constantly you're buying yourself new 4 amas, a new 4 amas. Every second you get a new 4 amas. And then Mela, you go wherever you want. You have a new 4 amas. Says the Gemara. So now we're holding top Mem Gimel Amud Aleph. V'Rabba my time elo yom akrib zero. So isn't that a beautiful taina? It makes a lot of sense. Logically, it makes a lot of sense. What's the difference between a guy moving you or a ship moving you against your will? You constantly get a new 4 amas. Says the Gemara. B'ma'aleches kuli am lo pligi. There's no machlokes between Reb Gamliel and Reb Akiva when it's moving. You're right. The svara, the logic is so strong that even Reb Akiva, who limits you to the box, we'll say that you're not limited to the box. You constantly have a new 4 amas when it's moving. Ki pligi b'shamda. The machlokes is the ship took a break, it stopped. According to Rabbi Gamliel, he's going to go with the Rabbi Svara of the walls. You kind of shvisa with the walls. And Rabbi Akiva is going to say, no, the walls don't help in this case, because if you look at the first words on Amud Aleph that we said yesterday, the walls are only l'havriach mayim. They're not there to make an enclosure. It's not a fence. It's to protect you from the water of the sea. That's the Gemara Tainas. Fine. Omar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchok. Masnisin nami daiko dib'mahaleches lo pligi. I can prove it from our Mishnah that there's no argument when the ship is in motion that everybody agrees you constantly get yourself another 4 amas. Memai. B'diktani ma'isa shabo b'plandarsin. Plandarsin. V'fligas v'nosim bayom. There's a story, it came from Plandarsin, and it docked, and then the wind blew it away from the dock more than 2,000 amma. Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah, Hilchus Kula, Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi say, it's amazing if you think about this for a second. The famous story, where was it, in Brachas, I think, right? Rabbi Gamliel, Brachas. Rabbi Gamliel was the Nasi, and he had a fight with Rabbi Yeshua. So they removed Rabbi Gamliel, and they said, who should be the Nasi, Rabbi Yeshua? Well, Rabbi Yeshua can't be the Nasi because he's in the fight. So let Rabbi Akiva be the Nasi. He can't be the Nasi because his yichus is no good. So they gave it to Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah. Oh, and here's all 4 of them right here in the story. Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah. So the Nasi and the one who became the Nasi, Hilchos Kula, they walked the entire ship. Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Akiva, and Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Yeshua, who was fighting with Rabbi Gamliel, and Rabbi Akiva, he couldn't be the Nasi because of his yichus. It says in the Mishnah, and we pointed it out when we were learning the Mishnah. Why did Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Yeshua walk? Not because they held la halacha you can't walk. It was a chumrah. Chumrah. What does that mean? Now the ship is in motion. Yeah? The ship is in motion. We're talking about the ship is in motion. So if you tell me there's no machlokes, and Rabbi Akiva agrees that when the ship is in motion, you get as much as you want. You can walk around the whole ship. So now it makes a lot of sense that they were machmer. They hold, Rabbi Akiva holds lemaisa. At the end of the day, I can walk whatever I want. But I'm not going to walk. I'm going to force myself into a box right over here. Why? I'm doing a chumrah. Because maybe the ship will stop. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to tell when the ship stops, doesn't stop.
We had earlier in the Gemara when he couldn't get water in jail, enough water. He said, better I die by the Shemayim and not be over
my Divri Chaverai. Yeah.
He was machmer because of Rabbi Yeshua's machmer, so he was following his chumrah.
Why was Rabbi Yeshua machmer? Both of them are holding the same exact thing. They're not different. Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Akiva are one. I just call it Rabbi Akiva, we call it Rabbi Gamliel. We don't mention Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah the Sugis. Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Akiva. They're saying the same thing. The point is that why would he be machmer? Why would he say, go in a box? Because he holds that at the end of the day, Rabbi Gamliel is right. As it's moving, there's no machlokes. Reb Zera's beautiful svara, you constantly get yourself another 4 amas. But I have to be machmer because maybe the ship will stop. That was a good story, though. It's a story to remember. The Rebbe Akiva was machmer. I'd rather die from starvation, from thirst, than be over on my not do natilas yadayim. Because maybe it'll stop short. But if they argue, even when it's in motion, what do you mean? What's the lashon? They wanted to make a chumrah. Isuru, they hold it's asur. I'll prove it to you for another place. We're talking about a ship, and we're also talking about a barn. Just like the barn doesn't move, there's no motion in a barn, so too the ship is also. Okay? The halacha is like Rabbi Gamliel when it comes to a ship. Now, we said yesterday, everybody agrees to that. Shmuel holds that the halacha is like Rabbi Gamliel on a ship. Rav says the halacha is like Rabbi Gamliel on a ship. Says the Gemara, Hilchasam Klal Pligi. Does anybody argue on a ship? In Batanya. Now, Rebbe Kiva, who argues on a ship, we said is a chumrah. He doesn't really argue. So you have to be machmer, but does he really hold that a ship it's also to carry out? No. So Gemara in. There is somebody, Batanya, and I'll prove it to you. Chananya Oimer. Now Chananya, as we're going to see in a second, is Rabbi Yeshua's nephew. Over here it says Ben Achi Rabbi Yeshua in parentheses. I guess they take it out. But he was a nephew. He was the Ben Achi Rabbi Yeshua, the son of the brother Rabbi Yeshua. All four of these Tanoim. Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Kiva, Rabbi Gamliel, and Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. They're sitting on the ship and they're arguing. Emesh, and when it came dark, Hichriya Chi Abba. Rabbi Yeshua, he decided, Halacha ki Rabbi Gamliel b'sfina. The halacha is like Rabbi Gamliel in a ship. Halacha ki Rabbi Kiva b'diver sar. So Rabbi Yeshua paskind. I go like Rabbi Gamliel when it comes to a ship. In other words, not everybody agrees to that. So there is a machlokas. And the halacha is like Rabbi Kiva when it comes to the barn. Now, it would seem from this line right here in the Gemara, halacha ki Rabbi Gamliel b'sfina, halacha ki Rabbi Kiva b'diver sar. We can paskin, no? If you look at the side, there's no ice here. There's no psak according to this. Because in fact, the Shulchan Aruch doesn't pass like that. Tosfos brings down. The Rif talks about this. Tosfos Mamish brings it down. Rebbeim Pasuk Rav Alfas. The Kaimelon Kirabi Yisuri. The halacha is always like Rav when it comes to Yisurim. And Rav said the halacha is like Rabbi Gamliel in everything, in a dir v'sar and a svina. Not like the Gemara over here that only in a svina it's like Rabbi Gamliel. The halacha is like Rabbi Gamliel. You can walk the entire barn. You can walk the entire thing. Fine. Interesting lashon here in Tosfos, and it's brought in a stronger lashon in the Rush. You don't bring a raya from Gemara. I don't know what that means exactly. Tosfos over here says you don't bring a raya from a Brisa. The Rush says you don't bring a raya from Gemara. Interesting. Fine. Maybe it means like not the Gemara that we have, but like a Gemara that you heard from somebody else. Boy Rav Chananya. Yesh tchumim l'mala ma'asara, or ein tchumim l'mala ma'asara. If somebody happens to be above 10 tefachim. We know Rishus HaRabim is up to 10 tefachim. So does the what? No, Yochi goes up. Rishus HaRabim up to 10. So if somebody happens to be walking in mid-ear above 10 tefachim, is he limited by the tchum? Tchum is 2,000 amas. Maybe it's only on the ground, but above. Now, how do you walk above the ground? You could do it. If you're a mekubal, you can do it. Rashi says, you say Hashem's name. Oh, very good. Says the Gemara, what are we talking about? Says Nachman, you can do a tightrope. It's actually a great example. If we're talking about a bridge, a nice, solid, wide platform, and it's 10 tefachim tall, of course, that's a problem with Chum. The Aris Michti. So you took your sidewalk from down here, you put it up here. What's the difference? It's your new sidewalk. It's still, that's considered its own area, and of course it's awesome. I like Nachman's idea better. But here's the picture. Let's say you have a beam. Mamish at the end here, you're walking this way. This is from the Kol HaLashon. And you got a beam that's narrow. It's less than 4 tefachim. So maybe I could hop on the beam. And I could go more than 2,000. I could go 2001. If I go 2001, then I could do 2002 and 3002. In other words, if I have a beam that's narrow or if I have a tight rope, I could cross the Grand Canyon because it's above Asar Tefachim. I might be able to go as far as I want. Inami, says the Gemara, they call Ozu B'kvitza. B'kvitza, through the air. I have a different picture in my head. I'll tell you in a second. So Rashi says, what's B'kvitza? He says Hashem's name, and he starts walking. I saw this unbelievable Ben Yoyada, and I didn't want to say it in share. I felt it wasn't, people were going to say stuff. But here, because the Gemara says it, the Gemara says, Rashi says, you say Hashem's name, and you walk. So the Ben Yoda says that Shmuel, the Amoira, Rav, we just spoke about him, Shmuel argues on Rav, and he says the halacha is like Rabbi Gamliel, only in a svina. Shmuel's father was once very far away, and a stargazer woman came to him and said, I want to have a child with you. I saw in the stars you're going to have an unbelievable child. She said, really? Yeah. So he said Hashem's name. He flew back to his house. His wife got pregnant. Now it says in the Ben Yehoyada a very interesting thing. He didn't speak the whole time because you're not allowed to be. Here's, if anybody wants to do this, you should know how it works. The rules are you can't talk. Once you talk, you have to say Hashem's name again. You can't make a hefsek. So I don't know if you're allowed to do whatever, and he went right back to where he came from because he wanted to get back there. Now it's also to use Hashem's name to get back there. To have a Shmuel, that's okay. What? Sheikhav, everything was said. It's not the first time. It wasn't the first time. Yeah, fine. But I thought it's interesting because, I mean, I have this problem now. Do I go to America or not? I have tickets for Wednesday, but I can't get back into the country. So, I could say the shame. The problem is that I don't know how to get my wife back. That is the problem. So I could just do the shame and come back. She doesn't know the shame. It's l'shem mitzvah. She's not allowed to come back unless she gives shir. Unless this, it's not. You can't just come back. Fine. So that's the mice of kfitza. Here, the Gemara says such a concept like the Ben Yehoyada says of. The Gemara just says it as a matter of fact. Yeah, you do a kfitza. Rashi says, you just say the shem, back and forth. We had a shaila today, like how long does it take? Like from America to Israel in a kfitza, is it 10 hour? Is it scary over the ocean, or like you do it and you're here? So it's okay. Lishna achrina, I'll tell you when I try it. I'll tell you. Lishna achrina. That's what I don't want to do with my wife. She'll be screaming the whole way. Lishna achrina b'sfina mai. So now this is very interesting because the sfina is above 10 tefachim. A ship is always above 10 tefachim above the ground, most of the time. So you'd have the same question in an airplane, let's say. It's above 10 tefachim, you're flying, so maybe there's no tchum in the airplane. Just as a side point, there's a very interesting thesis from start to beginning, from start to end. And he brings a Rashbam here, says you're allowed to go on a ship, mamish erev Shabbos, although we learned in the Shabbos, you need 3 days before. Everybody knows about the 3 days. According to Rashbam, no, that maybe it's only Bishamai. Tosis argues on him. And then he says that if a person goes onto a ship, he only has 4 amas. If he did it on Shabbos, he argues on that as well. All the way at the end, he says here that you might be able to, according to Rashbam, go on a bus on Shabbos, go on a horse and wagon. He calls it a horse and wagon. And one of the reasons he says he can't, according to because you're not allowed to use a horse on Shabbos. But a car, maybe you're allowed to. Kitzer, a whole shiloh. How does a plane? Because one of the issues, what's the difference between a ship and a car? The difference is, a ship, once you go on, you're stuck. You can't get off. So there's no chashash, I'm going to get off and start doing things. A car, you can stop wherever you want. So where does a plane fit into this whole thing?
People use the metro in Europe. People use the metro in Shabbos.
Why?
It goes on, opens the door, just walk in, you go out.
So that's something else. That's it's like using an elevator.
Right, that's what it says.
It's not in the spirit of Shabbos maybe, and what is it called? Uvda d'chol. They jump. You're allowed to steal. You're allowed to steal. You're allowed to jump the turnstile. No, I'm kidding. Now I'm going to get 10 emails. Whatever. He's saying, if nobody heard, he's saying that in Europe people use the train on Shabbos to go from station to station because there's no. Okay, fine. I'm not getting into it. I will tell you this. I had a Maisa Shahaya that I was on Tower Ear on Shabbos, on Erev. It was Erev Yontif. It was like this time of the year, like between Rosh Hashanah and Sukkot. I was with my wife, kid. I might have had one kid then, and my shver. My poor shver was with me. I'll tell you in a second why. So we're waiting. The plane is delayed. 5 hours, 6 hours. And they say, listen, if you get on now, we'll make it 2 hours before Shabbos. So we make this whole cheshbon. Well, we already paid for the hotels and everything, the whole sukkahs. A lot of Hasidim with us, a lot of this. So we get on Tower Ear. I don't know if you remember. They say, if we take off right now. We'll get there 2 hours before Shabbos, so you get to Yerushalayim, a half hour before Shkia. We're sitting on the plane, and they're not taking off. So we start doing the calculation. Every minute we're calculating. Well, if they take off now, we won't get to Yerushalayim, so we'll stay in Tel Aviv. If we take off now, we'll be able to stay in the airport. You know what? Let's get off. Let's just get off. So I get up, and the stewardess says, "Sir, you're not going anywhere. You can't get off." So what do you mean I can't? No, legally you can't. I said, "You want to see that I get off? Here, I got off." And she starts screaming at me in front of the whole plane. I was like, "Look, I got off, now I'm back on. I got off, now I'm back on. What are you going to do?" So then a bunch of people got up, and they got off. I made a whole scene. There's a whole group of people that couldn't get off because they would miss the Yontif and Eretz Yisrael with whatever. And then at the end of the day, they landed on Shabbos. And a Nes happened. I don't know how. There was a Nes. Maybe they said the Shem Hashem. They ended up in Yerushalayim somehow. There was a certain Nes. Whatever. Fine. That happened to Noam Fix with the famous flight that landed in Athens. If you hold there's an Isser to be on a ship, that's why they want to know whether or not is it a problem. But if there's no problem, they're above 10 tefachim in a ship. You're above 10 tefachim. You're floating above the ground. Amai ratzu. Says the Gemara, because they were within 10 tefachim of the ground. There's some. You're close to the shore. Rekak. That's not considered floating above 10. As we're going to see in a second, Rava says this answer. We'll say it over here as well. Tashma. It says in the Mishnah, Rabbi Gamliel was on the ship, and we're going to see in a second what happened. They asked him, do we get to the shore? Do we get to within the tchum? Could we get off? Could we disembark? Well, what's the halacha? That's why they want to know. But if there's no problem of tchum on a ship, because it's so high up, it's like walking on a tightrope. So let's say they didn't reach the tchum. Let them get off now. They were above and beyond. They were like in a shame. They were flying across the world, not being within land. So what's the problem? Let them just get off. This is where Rava says is Yisoid because that ship was so close to shore. So it's possible that ship was within 10 tefachim of the ground. And Memela, they had a problem. Now there is a big problem of tchum. Toshma Hani Shav Shmaitza. There's 7 halachas said in Chulin. Now, the famous sefer, Shav Shmaitza, written by the Ktsois, he also wrote the Avnei Miluim. Shav Shmaitza this is where he got his name from, right here. This Gemara and that other Gemara in Chulin, but right here. Shav Shmaitza means 7, he said 7 massive Chidushi Torah for each day of a Shever Brachas. And he was only, I think, 18 years old, maybe even younger. At most 18. And he printed it later on in his life, but it was written when he was 18 years old. It's such a famous piece of work that everybody writes about it. Shav Shmaitza. I think a lot of Bar Mitzvah Bachrim use it, no? Shav Shmaitza. Anyways, the Shav Shmaitza. Ditmaron betzafro, b'shapso, kamei Rav Chizda besura. It was said in the morning on Shabbos in front of Rav Chizda. Suddenly, ubahadei panya, on Shabbos night, the Shabbos kamei Rava b'Pumbedisa. Whatever was said here was brought 100 miles away to Pumbedisa. Well, it's all within Bavel. But one was here, and one was here. What's going on? How did it get there? How did they break the Tchum? Manam Rinu, such interesting Gemaras here. Lav Eliyahu Amrinu. It must be somebody like Eliyahu Navi, somebody that could fly and bring the Torah from one to the other. Alma ain't Tchumim l'malam asar. Well, Eliyahu Navi keeps Shabbos. He wouldn't break the Tchum. Mamish interesting stuff. It's a very good shaila. I didn't think about that. Yosef Eruvin asks, how did he? What? Yosef Eruvin asks, how does Eliyahu Novi go from one bris to the other on Shabbos? He's breaking the tchum. Over here the Gemara says he keeps Shabbos. Says Laibi that the Chassam Sofer says that at a bris he comes as a malach, and a malach is different. A malach doesn't keep Shabbos. Okay, interesting. Well, who brings it? The Mesifta brings it on the bottom? He heard it. It's always good to have a koil guy in your shir. What? No, it's not a problem. Right, that's what we're saying. No, so that's only if you hold in Tchumim. That's in the Shaila. Right, so that's a good raya. That goof is the Gemara is saying. That goof is the Gemara's raya is from the fact that Eli Navi did it. You see, in Tchumim Asor. Oh, so you know what? I have another kasha. Why does the Gemara ask a kasha from Eli Navi from this one chef Shmaitza, bring a kasha from every bris? That goof is a problem. Why did the Gemara say that? Maybe, so that's why I have to, okay, fine. No, you're asking me from, I'm not saying why did the Gemara just bring it from there? Fine. Dilma, says the Gemara, very interesting. Dilma Yosef Sheida Amrinu. I also thought this was very fascinating. There's millions of Sheidim. There's one Sheid, Yosef Sheida, I'm assuming he was buddies with the Talmid Chachamim. And you'd say, go back, here, take my Torah, bring it over there, bring it back. You're talking about people that are flying with Shemais. They use there, take the shade, go, give the Torah. You know why? Because at the end of the day, Shadim lie a lot. So maybe they could rely on this one. This particular one said it over nicely. Toshma, Hareini Nazir be'yoyim sheben David ba. I'm a Nazir on the day that Mashiach comes. Also, another fascinating sugya. I want to be a Nazir. In other words, I cannot drink wine when Mashiach comes. Every single day of my life, I have to be concerned, maybe. Not concerned, I should be waiting that he should come today. And Memela, I can't drink, so I can't drink wine my entire life. But I could drink on Shabbos and Yom. The Gemara is going to go through a whole sugya here. Why and how? We understand. Oh, but you need notice beforehand. The Gemara is going to go through all that. And you're not allowed to drink wine on a regular weekday for the rest of your life. Now, we just turned to Daf Yomi Amud Beis, brand new sponsors. By Mayor Yosef Steinberg. I'm done with these English names. Mark Steinberg. Mazen Mark. What is this? Shlishinu Shmam. We're not calling him Mark anymore. Fine. He wants Mark. Mark Steinberg. Shidduch for his son. Yitzchak Pesach Yehuda. Yesterday I didn't say Yehuda. That's why maybe he's not engaged yet. But now, Yitzchak Pesach Yehuda B'Meir Yosef. Should have shidduch. Imagine if he gets engaged this month. Rabbi said it's everybody's job to get this guy shidduch immediately. What? You have a daughter? I will pay you $30,000 if you marry your daughter to this guy. I'll tell you why. Because I could sell the turning of the page for $40,000 from now on. And sponsored by Anonymous. I love Anonymous because it doesn't have an English name. Hatzlach in Yiddishkeit. And zechus for his family to be Torah Yidden. All right, I changed the Jews to Yidden because Jews is in English. Torah Yidden. And if you tell me that there's a problem with Chumim, the reason, because Eliyahu can't show up on Shabbos, he has a problem traveling through the Tchum. But if there's no problem with Tchum, Shabbos v'yom tovim, amay mutar. He could come, he could fly in from above 10 tfachim and land. And we're assuming, for some reason, that he must come from out of town. He's not in town. What the whole Gemara, look, here is Mashiach by the gates over there, and he's doing his bandages. He was in town. I don't know. Fine. He's coming from out of town. Shani Asam do Makro. Hinei anoichi shelech lochem es Eliyah Hanavi. I'm sending you Eliyah Hanavi. One day before. Oh, so you're going to know. Volayas Eliyah Medman. Eliyah Hanavi didn't show up. So Mela, I know he's not coming today. I get 1 day warning. Ihachi, everybody asked the question. Let him drink wine on Tuesday because Eliyahu Navi didn't come on Monday. We know for a fact he didn't come. You know what? Eliyahu Navi did show up. He's not going to make this big announcement like we think through the streets. Perhaps he goes straight to the Sanhedrin. He tells them, here I am. I'm here. I once asked my father, by the way, he's a Makubal. I asked him, and this is very obvious. I guess once you know it, you know it. I said, how do you know that that he's Mashiach? Like, how is he going to prove it? When you see him, you know. He's not going to have to prove anything. You're going to know. So anyways, he comes to the Bezdin HaGadol. There was no questions. He came in, here, I'm here. Whatever the sign is, everybody understands at that point. So what did you gain? If he came to the Beis Din HaGadol and you don't know, so on Shabbos also maybe he came to the Beis Din HaGadol. Says the Gemara, Kfar Muvdach Lehem Yisrael Shein Eliyahu Ba Lo Ba'arvi Shabbos Lo Ba'arvi Yom Tovim Mipnei HaTorach. I find this fascinating also. It's mamish, such a sugya. Unbelievable. Benodam L'Chaveiroi. We're waiting for Mashiach every single second. But you know what? We're busy making cholent. We'll push it off a day. The oilam is too busy running and doing. Who cares? You care about your chicken? That's what we care. We care about Mashiach. Let him come now. No, that's not the way to do it. But Mashiach is here. I don't care. I'll worry about it. I'll eat gefilte fish. I will eat gefilte fish from a can. Even from a can. It says, it doesn't say Shabbat, it says Mitei Torach. We're busy, we're running around. Okay. Anyways, the question is a good question. I think the Yisoid is a bit better Yisoid. It's a lesson. It's a lesson for human beings. Huh? Okay. I hear. It doesn't say Mipnei Shabbos, Mipnei HaTorach. Mashiach nami lo yasi. So you see, the Gemara says, if Eliyahu Novi doesn't come on Shabbos, Erev Shabbos because of the Torah, Mashiach nami lo yasi. B'mali Shabbos lo lishteri. So Mashiach cannot arrive on Friday. Why? Because it's going to be a problem. How are you going to prepare for Shabbos? So you should be able to drink wine every Friday because that's not the day that I swore that I'm not drinking wine because he can't show up on Friday. Says the Gemara, Eliyahu lo yasi. Eliyahu Novi can't show up on Friday. Mashiach himself could show up on Friday. What about the chant? The Kivin Asi Mashiach Hakol Avodim Yisrael. Everybody becomes a slave to Klal Yisrael. So you could go to the Waldorf and chap the 5-star chef and bring him home. Let him make your chant. You'll be busy with Mashiach. Says the Gemara, Bechad b'Shabbat l'shteri. But at the end of the day, let it be okay to drink wine on Sunday. Why? Because he can't show up on Shabbos. Says the Gemara, he can't show up on, Mashiach can't come on Sunday because Eliyahu Novi didn't come on Shabbos. How did Eliyahu Novi, obviously, if he could travel on Shabbos, that's why you can't drink wine on Sunday. But if he can't travel on Shabbos, then how's it possible for Mashiach to come on Sunday? You need 1 day notice from Eliyahu Novi. He can't come on Shabbos because he doesn't know how to fly above the Tchum. Says the Gemara, Haitanos, Hapukim is Apkelei. No, he wasn't sure this Tana. Is there a Tchum above 10 or no Tchum above 10? We don't know. So let's go L'chumra. Meaning, I cannot drink wine on Sunday because maybe Eliyahu Novi doesn't have a tchum. Maybe there's no tchum above. Maybe he will show up on Shabbos. I cannot drink wine on Sunday. However, I myself cannot walk above 10 tfachim, above the tchum on a tightrope, because maybe there is a tchum on above 10. I got to play it safe. I don't know. When I don't know the halacha, I have to go to chumrah both, like we had the other day. If I don't know the halacha, I have to go to chumrah. So I'm going to go to chumrah, don't drink wine, because maybe Mashiach, maybe Eliyahu Navi could fly above 10 tefachim. But I myself cannot go above 10 tefachim, because maybe it's also to go above 10 tefachim. That is the story. Shalom Aleichem, Reb Ezra Abrams. What a way to start off the year with the chaver from Australia. I'm still very confused what the hours are like this. So it's not Rosh Hashanah in Australia. They're fakert. They're ahead of us, way ahead. Okay, fine. Says the Gemara, it's almost the Yom Kippur by them, right? Says the Gemara, the Koy Emas, when is this guy making his neder? If he's on a weekday, keeping the Chalalei Naziros, but right that, let's say he did it on a Tuesday, he should become a Nazir right then and there. How could the Shabbos, he's already, how does Shabbos undo what he already did? Elo, the koi b'Shabbos v'kanodar. So it's talking about that he is on Shabbos. That's when he made his neder. So he has a one-time deal. This Shabbos will be Yontiv kanodar or on Yontiv Only this one time he's allowed to, because Mashiach didn't show up yet, Eliyahu didn't come yesterday, but from here on out, it's always asur for him to drink, even on Shabbos. They didn't come in, so you had a ship with the Gedol Hadar, Rav Gamliel, Rav Shua, Rav Kiva, Rav Elazar ben Azariah, they're coming in, and they weren't sure, and they dock, and then the wind blows them out. Tana. So they asked Rav Gamliel, Rebbe, are we within? Sorry, they didn't dock. So they're coming in, and they weren't sure, they parked, they weren't sure, when did they come within the 2,000 amas of the port? Was it Shabbos already? Or is before Shabbos? So if it was Shabbos when they came in, so Mamela, they were already within the port. They're allowed to get off. It's part of the port. 2,000 amas is part of the port. Says the Gemara, Rav Gamliel said, don't worry about it. We were already here on Shabbos. We're before Shabbos. As Shabbos came in, we were already 2,000 amas. Tana. Shvei Feres, Hoy Solei Rav Gamliel. Rav Gamliel had a special device, a tube. So if you take Rashi explains, a long tube, you could see not that far. A short tube. So they had this thing, they did the whole experiment, and they had a tube that was exactly 2,000 amas. When you see blurry, that means it's not good. When you see clear, boom. So this tube was a 2,000 amma tube. He looked at it, he said, we're 2,000 amas. I know that we're 2,000 amas. Says the Gemara, and you could see the distance to the land. If a person is on the top of a mountain and wants to look down and see the valley, maybe he brings this device and he looks. And then he'll know. Look at Rashi for a second, because this Rashi is smack middle of the page. We do middle of the page Rashis. Maybe and he should check how many amas he has. And then he'll go he's on top of the mountain, he'll look down, and he'll go backwards. He'll start walking backwards until he can't see anymore, and then he knows, boof, I got 2,000 amas. So I saw Mordechai Pshat in Gai V'Delio. So I'm asking the Olam to look, because I didn't have time to look it up. But maybe this is what they say. Who cares how deep it is? And then Rashi says you should go backwards. Pshat is, we're talking about Averis and Gehenim. What's Gai? Gates Halmaves. It's the valley of death. When you look down and you see Gehenim, you back your way up from Averis. You take it back until you don't see Gehenim anymore. If that's the Pshat, what's the next thing? Dekel, the sweet fruit of Gan Eden. So you measure your shadow. It's very interesting what you do, because it's all relative. If you want to know how tall a tree is, so at that given time of the day, if you could stop the sun for a second, so all the shadows are the same. They accomplish the same thing. So if you're 10 feet tall, your shadow is, let's say, 5 feet or 20 feet, whatever it is. So you know a 20-foot shadow equals 10 feet. So 40-foot shadow equals 20 feet. You do the same cheshbon. How does this fit into Gan Eden? I have no idea. I mean, at the end of the day, the Chazon Ish says, I think, I don't want to misquote him, he said something like, as you get further away from the sun, your shadow is when the sun is right above you, so you have a small shadow. When you're further away from the sun, you have a very long shadow. He was referring to your relationship to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So like this, something like that. With the dekel, Gan Eden, a shadow, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Anyways, look in the Sfarim. Somebody sees a nice pshat. I didn't look at the Ben Yoyada, my go-to, and the morale and all these things. What's going on here? Why is Gemara tell you this stuff? Okay. This is also very interesting. Mamish weird stuff. Weird meaning interesting to the point we have to understand what it means. You don't want the animal to hang out by the grave. Why? Because he's going to dig up your loved one and he's going to use the grave. He's going to use the grave as shade. And all of a sudden he's going to go, interesting. And he starts digging, pulls the body out. So what do? It's okay, but no, it's kind of bedal choice bayim. That's when they like to use the shade. 4 hours, you take a little stick, you look at the shade right over here, And then you know which direction to make the shade. A ganze eitz over here, very interesting stuff. And he makes a little bit of an incline. Here's a regular grave. Here's a grave that the animal can't use it. There's no shade for him at all. You know what? Let's stop right over here because the slichas, Rabbi Sai, have a good gebenched yor, gmar chasima toiva. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.